First thing, sources are listed in the description. I don't usually put sources in the description because it's a big enough topic for you guys to find stuff, and I won't get sued because I'm a small channel. But this topic is just so small that sources are needed, not wanted. World War I was filled with terror, trenches, and tanks. This war engulfed 23 nations, not including British dominions. One of these nations was the red, white, and blue. No, not that red, white, and blue. We are talking about the nation of Liberia. And no, I'm not counting all those nations in South America that all just randomly declared war and did absolutely nothing. You don't deserve that title of being the last nation to declare war. Around 1822, the question for America was, if the slaves were freed, what would happen to them? Some people believe that all freed black Americans would steal all of America's jobs. So the minds such as Henry Clay created the American Colonization Society, who had the answer: move them all away from us and make him someone else's problem. So they created the Liberia, not a colony, but a settlement, making it one of the only two nations to never be colonized. 7,000 people free birth and freed slaves soon arrived. Soon in 1848, under the first president and native-born Liberian, not including the tribes, Joseph Roberts, Liberia declared independence, and the countries such as Great Britain and the US recognized it, surprisingly. So Liberia is now a country, but the native tribes and the Africans from America descendants were not really mingling. The two people could not really integrate into one society. Because of this, the two groups often fought between each other. Anyways, let's talk about Germany's and Liberia's relationship. Surprisingly, it was great. So Germany had a huge industrial power, like it to trade. Just one problem: most of Europe hated them and most of Europe controlled the world. So Germany had to find other markets to trade. One of the places was America. Most of North and South America was free. It was perfect. Now just getting those products to the Americas. But in order to get to South America, you need a pit stop in Africa. And again, Europe ruled most of the world. The closest Germany colony was Togoland, and that was just going to cost more money. Only if there was an independent country that could be a pit stop. Of course, Germany saw how close Liberia was and immediately began to trade with Liberia. Eventually, Germany made up 75% of Liberia's trade. Back to Liberia. Even though Liberia had a Department of War, ever since it became a country, it was not as efficient as it should have been. Riots were everywhere and in the interior, and Liberia looked like it was about to explode. Eventually, the UK and France declared that Liberia had no sovereignty in its interior and were going to do something about it. With the operation being conducted by the British, in 1908, Liberia created the Liberian Frontier Force, also known as the LFF. The force would allow Liberia to control Liberia. In 1912, American officers replaced the British officers. Then in 1914, Franz Ferdinand took a ride through Bosnia and was shot, starting the Great War. Liberia was heavily affected during the war. First, German trade was cut in half. Yeah, half. Into an economic crash. Secondly, the war led more and more guns and bullets to go to Europe. All the tribes began to rebel again, such as the Crew Rebellion, started in 1915. Finally, the Liberians went to the Americans for help. With the Americans, weapon prices were cut in half for them. With the weapons was Captain William Roundtree, and with his help ended the rebellion. But major German businesses were still in Monrovia, and there was still a German telegraph station and a German garrison. But the LFF was still trying to take care of tribal unrest. Eventually, the LFF finally took the German telegraph station and deported the German garrison. Then on August 4th, 1917, they declared war on Germany. or it was April 1918. The sources conflict on this, but I think it's going to be 1917 because it was closer to when they took the telegraph station. We do know that they did seize all of Germany's assets in the country in April of 1918. They also sent troops to France, but it was more like 2 to 15 people. Their army was like 400. We don't really know. And they didn't even fight. June 1918, a German submarine went to Monrovia. Then, said submarine attacked the old telegraph station and sank a customs ship. This did hurt Liberia's economy a little bit, due to the city being blocked for like a day or so until the ship left to protect Germany. This attack did 2 things. One, it allowed Liberia to be present in the Paris Peace Conference. Just imagine the talks at the table. Hey, who are you? I am the Japanese Empire. I went through brutal siege warfare. I mobilized 800,000 soldiers to help Europe destroy one of the greatest threats the world has ever seen. Oh, cool, I got shot at like once and then I just came here. What? 2 was that Liberia got tons and tons of Liberty loans from Wilson. But after the war, Wilson was unable to pass more loans to Liberia because of the Senate. Anyway, Liberia would sign the Treaty of Versailles and would not be economically good until 1926. They would also be in the League of Nations. Now,